dreamed of lumberjacks and white picket fences, but instead she got a loving man and a culture that pushes away women with strawberry hair. She later became familiar with foreign words and harsh tones bouncing off the walls of communal taxicabs accustomed to the Philippines before she became familiar with love. There are so many walls. My father left his homeland to fight for another country, but even during his layover in Chicago, stares were directed towards the walls while my father stood there with his lifelong belongings in a suitcase. And in that new country, he was faced with people who squinted in response and asked him if he was going to eat dog for dinner that night. There are so many walls. The habit of raised voices is familiar to my father, but not so much to my mother. So when he's exclaiming how good a piece of toast is, or how righteous the Sunday post is, or how beautiful a sunset looks in a confining car, it seems as if he's angry. There are so many walls. My parents only look like my parents when they're both right next to me, because alone my father is too Asian for my pale skin, and my mother is too white for these eyes. I go out with my friends, and it almost seems like my childhood buddy is more like my mother's kid, their skin tones matching and their freckle count closer. There are so many walls. Before my mother met my father, her extent of experience with Asia was confined within the walls of the town's only buffet. General Fo's chicken hot from just being microwaved. There are so many walls. Within the own walls of my own home, I find myself passing mirrors, looking into windows, stopping to pick at my own eyes. I find myself bathing in sunlight, hoping, praying, and begging for freckles, yet I'm only met with a darker tan and the words, "It's a miracle that you Asians don't sunburn." There are so many walls within the supermarket. The walls are covered with items, littered with stickers hidden at the bottom with the words, "Made in China," "Made in Vietnam," "Made in Asia," which people take as a sign that the item is no longer quality. There are so many walls. I have never been beat up before. But when the voices mock me for being the only Asian girl at the table, or for being the only student who can stomach eating raw fish without gagging and feels as if I am being pinned against a wall, China girl feels like a slam, Kawaii feels like a punch to the chest. Chink is the sound that I make when I fall. There are so many walls. During the 7+ years, I have learned not to raise my hand too fast or too often, as it might solicit an eye roll, or an of course she knows the answer. When I receive less than 92% on a test, the person to my right often asks me if my father is going to beat me with a flip-flop. There are so many walls. Mulan plays within the walls of my parents' bedroom TV. And I am sitting there lapping up Disney's only attempt at representing kids who look remotely like me. Harry Potter sits within the walls of my childhood bookcase. The character Cho Chang appropriately sorted into the smart house. Appropriately a damsel in distress. Appropriately my go-to Halloween costume for the next 4 years. There are so many walls. My blanket suddenly feels tight against my body as my best friend whispers about how she wishes she weren't white. How she wishes she were more unique. My body wishes to be less different. My mind wishes to be less vulnerable. There are so many walls. walls within my own veins, cutting them jaggedly down the middle, half and half. There are walls in my own home. There are walls cutting me off from my own family. There are walls made out of unmistakable, unbreakable, blatant hate. So, Mr. Trump, do you really believe we need more walls?